Hello everybody, welcome to the session. Today's session I'm actually recording a webinar or slash the video for lesson 16 from Sage 300. So today's session I will be looking at lesson 16 from your Sage 300 2017 test book. So now before I show you what I'm going to do, so I'm going to tell you before you start lesson 16 what you need to do. I know you guys are used to the in-class setup in-class setup tutorials where we perform three steps before you start your chapter, but when you guys are at home, what you guys need to do before you start, you need the end of lesson 14 or 15 to get started with lesson 16. So what you need to do is, if you have your file on your USB, you are going to go on and use your end of lesson 14 database file that you have copied from my Dropbox. If you don't have the file with you, what you're going to do is you're going to go on your Blackboard under learning material. There's a file there there's a folder for Omni database files, and then you will be downloading end of lesson 14. Once you download, it'll be downloading into a zipped folder, and what you're going to do is you're going to unzip the folder onto your USB or on your C drive. Once you do that, what you're going to do is you're going to go into database load and load end of lesson 14 and link it to your Omni database, OmniDat and OmniSys. Once you finish downloading, once you finish loading the file, then you're going to go open Sage 300. When you open Sage 300, you're going to go, then you will see exactly what I see here. You're going to select Omni Electronic Supplies, and you're going to put the session date for this chapter, 2019 January 31st. Press OK, and then you're going to go into your screen, your home screen. Okay, so there you will see a reminder. You're going to close the reminder. So lesson 16, you're going to start up your account receivable module. So we're going to focus on account receivable setup. So now if you see this, we only have accounts payable, journal ledger. So now before we start, we're going to activate it. So we're going to go admin services, data activation, and here you're going to activate your account receivable module. Next, and we're going to say activate. Now you close it, and once you close the window, you will see that account receivable module shows up here. Okay, that's where we're gonna spend the this week and next week. That's where we're gonna spend most of our time. And lesson 16, we're gonna focus on account receivable setup, which is right here. So I'm not gonna illustrate every single thing in this chapter. You are responsible for going through the entire chapter from beginning to the end, but I'll be hitting the key points that's important for you guys to know. The rest of the information that you guys will get to know when you guys read the test book and look at each exercise individually. And students who has the software, they will do the stuff on your computer as you go along the chapter. And students who don't have the software installed, I encourage you to make sure you read through the book very carefully, and there are screenshots there as well. Plus there is a video that I'm posting, and this is actually focused on the students who don't have the software, so they can actually see how it looks when you are doing those things on a screen. But in addition to that, you also have pictures in the test book that tells you the step-by-step things, how it looks like on a screen when you guys do this. So now you're going to focus on account receivable setup. So first thing we did, activate the account receivable. Second thing, you can look at the AR purchase process. I'm not going to be very picky on that. It's just a screenshot of all the transactions flow. I'll go through it when we go through the patches. Then we have is the account receivable setup. So all the setups are gonna show up in account receivable setup. The first thing you have is the option. So you click on the option tab. This option will show you the company information, some of the information that you can use or change for processing the transaction or the batches scheduled process. You can look through it. There is nothing we have to worry about or we need to change in this chapter. Then you look at the transaction. An important part from transaction is how do you want the invoice to look like, categorized by the item or categorized by the summary. So the difference between item and summary is when you want to allocate the invoice by list of items that you're selling, you wanted to select the invoice type as an item. If you have it's something called summary, so that means you don't have the item as a list of the items in your account. What you will do is you select the summary. So if you using items, you'll be doing is you will select an item, but if you don't have the list, the item list in your system, what would you do is you select the summary, and then you have no option to select an item. What you have to do is you have to pick up a GL account to show how the transaction will be recorded. So we can leave it as default as an item. Default posting, your posting date is always going to be a document date unless you're recording a backdated transaction. So your posting date in GL is always going to be your invoice date. Taxes will be automatically calculated unless you change it. Then default payment is by check. If your company is used to recording payments by a direct deposit, you can change default to be direct payment, but here we're going to leave it as check. Default bank, so in this case we have two banks, so we say, you know what, we're going to use the TD checking account as a default bank account to receive any payments. Now you're going to go into the next part, numbering. So this is where you can change the next invoice number or in debit note or credit note, and that's where you're going to start your recording from. Then you have is your invoice batch number is by default starting from 1, but if you want to continue from a previous batch number that you have from the old system, you can do that here. Statement, pretty straightforward. This is a statement when you actually sending statement to your client. This is the aging going to look like. So if you change the aging dates, you can change it right here. If you want to look anything different than what's in default, you can change 1 to 15, 16 to 30th, and so forth. Okay, this is a great option that you can use to customize your statement. Okay, so once you finish, we're going to click save and then close it. The next part we have is account sets. So now in account sets, this is similar to what we have done in accounts payable. Is account sets are how you want to group the linking between the account receivable to your GL account. So if your company has a different customers, then they wanted to group them separately, and you want to show them separate GL accounts in your general ledger, then what you have to do is you have to create different account sets. Okay, so for example, if I have two departments, electrical and machinery, I wanted to group them into two GL accounts, so therefore I have to have two GL accounts. One is account receivable electrical, another one is account receivable machinery, so therefore I'm going to create two different account sets. So if I want to further divide that between Canadian and US customer, I'm going to have 4 different account sets. So therefore I have AR electrical Canadian, AR electrical US, then I'm going to have AR machinery Canadian, AR US machinery. Okay, so you're going to have 4 different departments. So here I'm going to illustrate that with the one account set. So we're going to say, you know what, we're going to have electrical, so Canadian electrical, okay, KAD electrical, okay, and then what you're going to do is you're going to link this to account receivable, and here we have an account receivable. So I only have AR Canadian US, so therefore when I create the another group, I'm going to have to create another receivable account as well. The discount, so we're going to pick the sales discount. So in this case, I don't have a sales discount, I have sales return, so I'm going to select sales return account for now, and I'll change the sales return and discount. And prepayment, so if we have a separate prepayment account, we can use that, so that's prepayment Canadian. And then I'm going to have write-off, which is where if you're writing off an account receivable, this is where you're going to where the posting is going to get recorded. So we have a write-off account right here, 42,200. So this is an account that you need to, so that means whenever you're recording transactions in account receivable, they're directly going into these GLs. And if you want to create more, you just click new and add another account set. So now if I click on the browser, I have Canadian electrical already. Okay, so now if you want to create US electrical, you can say USA electrical, and then so forth. Okay, so that's what you're going to create. account sets. And then we have billing cycle. So now what is billing cycle? So billing cycle is a cycle where you want to run your statements or invoices. So what companies do is they will divide the billing cycles between different groups of customers. So there are certain groups who are monthly, certain groups weekly, bi-weekly. Based on that, you can create billing cycles. So I'm going to show you guys a monthly cycle. So let's say I'm creating one monthly. I'm going to say MT. This only allows me using 5 words, so I'm going to just illustrate something that can read as a monthly. And then this is where it tells system is monthly, it will be selecting the number of days. So now if you have a different what the address that you want to use for your statements or invoicing, you can put the address. I'm just going to leave it blank, but when you guys doing this, you can complete this based on the information provided in the book. Okay, so this is the address that will be used for creating any of the billings using this system. Okay, and that's your billing. You added it. Now if you want to create another one, you click new and add another one. So we can close that here. And then we have a distribution codes. So distribution codes are the codes that are identifying the transactions. So we use the distribution codes in accounts payable. We use that for similar approach here as well. So distribution codes are used to classify the transactions and linking that to a particular GL account. So for example, think about it, the transaction that gets recorded in receivables are your sales. So you can have different kinds of sales. You are selling an item, providing a service, any kind of item that you want to record, you can create a distribution code and link them to those general ledger accounts. So let's say, you know what, I'm going to record sales for electrical. Okay, so here I'm going to say electrical department sales. Okay, and then I'm gonna click and find the revenue account, the sales account, and then I'm gonna. Now inventory is not so important, because if you are recording an inventory, recording an item as service, then you don't have to worry about the inventory. But in this case, it is an item, so we can link that to inventory. It's not going to update anything in inventory because we are using perpetual system, periodic system, not perpetual. So that's your cost of sale. So we have all these accounts linked now. So anytime you record a sales, it automatically posts this to these accounts. So let's click add, and that's your distribution code. Then you click new, you can create another one. Okay, joining messages. I'm not going to go through that. That simply is if you want to create different kind of messages that will go on your invoice or on your statement, you can create customized message code, and when you send out the statement, it will automatically link to that. Interest profile. This is an important feature that you can use. This is one of my favorite features in Sage 300. The reason is, think about it, if you have a company's policy that you want to charge 10% interest to any accounts receivable that are overdue by 10 days. So that is a policy that you have in a company, but now to make sure your customer follows those rules, you have to implement it and make sure you use it, you execute it, so that way people get serious about it and paying you on time. So if you were to do this manually, it's a very long process. So that means you're going to look at it, what are the outstanding account receivables, and anytime you have an account receivable that overdue 10 days, you're going to calculate the 10% interest, create an invoice, send it to a customer, record it in a system, and then send a revised statement to your customer so they know that you're charging interest. That's a long process. So now the system here, you can create an interest profile and use that profile to a particular customer, and then when you finish your month, you will run a batch for interest where a system will go in, pick up anybody who are overdue and calculate the interest for you, and then you simply have to print it and send it to a customer. So it does a lot of work for you. But to make sure this works properly, what you have to do is you have to make sure that this thing is set up properly. So here I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going to create a 10% profile. So 10 IY, 10% interest annually. Okay, so here I'm going to put a description saying 10% annual interest on overdue by 10 days, and then it's going to ask me to pick up an interest income account. So that means we know that system knows where to post that amount. Calculate interest by document or by balance. It's going to be by document. If you want to be accurate, it has to be by document. And in 10 overdays, that means you're giving a 10 grace days. So anybody who is still under 10 days, this can still, I mean, they will be interest free, but anybody over 10 days, so as your technically is your grace period, round up to a minimum. So you can round it up to a minimum, or you can say, you know what, if it's anywhere below $1, we can skip it. So now that is your annual interest rate 10%. And do you want it compoundly? You know what, system can do a calculation much faster than us. So let's make it compoundly, so that way people has to take it serious. Okay, compound doesn't make a big difference, but it does make a lot of difference in calculation because it's getting compounded. So interest is they're paying interest on top of the interest as well. So it's not annual, it's compounding. Okay, so once you finish adding up all those things, then you add it. Now your interest profile is there, but to make a use of it, you want to make sure you link this interest profile to the customer when you're creating them. And once you create them, you have to run the interest batches at the end of the month once everything else is done from account receivable. Okay, so my interest profile is created, and the next part is the payment codes. Payment code is pretty straightforward. To create that, you simply create a code and put a description to it. There is no GL account that's linked with this, but it's just for your own record keeping purposes. So that means if you want to have a particular type of payment that you want to record in a separate way, so it shows up, so you can create a payment code and give a description to that code. So here when you do that, you only have 4 options. There's a payment received by cash, check, credit card, or others. You cannot customize that, so therefore you only have these options, but you can create as many codes that you want. Okay, salesperson. Now that's another important feature that you have in Sage 300. So in this one, what you're doing is you're creating a salesperson code. So that means anybody if you have a salespeople and they are paid a commission. So what you can do is you want to keep a track on that. Now there's 2 ways to do that. You can track the commissions manually using an Excel, or you can let the system keep a track of the commission. So to keep track of commission in Sage 300, you have to create a salesperson profile. So I'm going to say, you know what, if I create a profile for myself, I'm going to say, okay, DEE is the first 3 digits of my initials for my name, and then I will put the code number for department. So is what is D100, and here I can put the name of the salesman. Okay, and then you can put the employee number if you have the employee number, and you want to set up a target. So you know what, I'm going to set up a target of 100,000 for the salesman, and to keep a track, you're going to have to mention saying, you know what, I'm paying commission to this person. So if the person has different commission brackets that he gets paid X amount of percentage on X amount of sales, then the commission percentage goes up or down. You can have different brackets for that. But for simplicity purposes, I'm going to use 1, and then I say, you know what, he gets paid 10% commission on the sales. Then you click add. Once you click add, that salesman is added to your system, and now as soon as you click add, now you see a statistics tab that shows up here. So now you can see all the sales that's been done by that particular customer by period. Okay, so once you finish setting up, you can come back here and it shows up the sales for each person. Okay, so that's how you do this, and now we are close sales. And the next one is terms. So I'm not going to go through the terms. This is very similar to what you have done in accounts payable, and you will be asked to create few terms here. There is nothing different what you have done in accounts payable, so you can go through the test book and look at all the terms that you're creating here. So the two definitely one that I want you guys to try this is the one with the discount, and the second one is a multi-installment. Okay, we have done that in class. If you don't remember, go back to your notes and look at the test book and look at the examples they're showing up here. And the last part that's different than what you have done in accounts payable is the items. So when you click on the items, it shows up the list of the items. So now if I click on the browser, there is no items here. So now item is nothing different than a list of inventory. So the name is different because we don't use inventory module. So what we can do is we can create items. Now that items could be an inventory, could be a non-inventory item. So how do we classify that? For example, I'm creating a first item. I can number that item as, for example, I have different wires in my company. I say this is wire 100, or I can say wire 001, and then here I can put the description to this, say wire and 10 centimeters. Okay, and then if you have the commodity number, you can put that in. So it's 1 2 3 4 5 6. That's the commodity number, the item number, and then a distribution code. Now remember, we created a sales for the electrical department. Now these items, depending on which department they belong, we can select that distribution code. Now see that you don't have to select the GL account. It automatically picked up whatever is selected for that distribution code. Then the time comes in where you set up the pricing. Okay, so here you can say, how do you measure these items? This is each. Then here you can mention the cost. What this item cost me $5. How much I'm gonna sell for is 12. Okay, so this is what's gonna list. So when you pick up this wire 001 item, it will show up the price of $12. Doesn't mean you have to sell it for the same price. You can manually change the price when you're recording transaction, but this is where it will list initially. Okay, and then you have tax status. That tax status is where you can select the particular tax authority. You can leave it blank, but if you say, if most of your transactions happen in Ontario, you can select the HST. So it will pick up the HST by default, but the way it works, the sales tax works in Canada is it's always based on where the product and services is being delivered. So if you're selling something in BC, you're going to have to select the sales tax is applicable for BC, not the Ontario. So you can change that at that time, but when you select this one here, the item, when you select wire 001, it will by default pick up the HST code. And then you click add once you have that item added, and then see the statistics tab shows up here. Is any item that you're going to create, the statistics will keep track of that item sales, the amounts, cost of goods, and everything in this tab by years, by period. Okay, and now if you can create more items, all you do is click new and create more items. Okay, so here I'm only showing you one, but you'll be creating a lot of other items when you are doing this in your lesson 16. Okay, these are the important parts that you need to know from this chapter, but there are some other small things that you need to do, but these are the major items that are important, and according to me, this is crucial as well, because this will impact how the transactions will be recorded when you are processing the transactions in AR. Once you finish all these things, the last part that you have to focus is the account receivable reports. So now for the setup, it's all recorded under AR setup reports. So you can click on any of the things that you want to print. You can click on it and then ask the system to print it. So interest profile, when you click, it's going to show you a preview. Make sure you set up the reports to preview before you want to print it. So if you remember this, we have done this a lot before. Preview, paper size, orientation, letter A4, press OK. So now I click on interest profile. So I'm going to say, show me the interest profile. So I click print. And there it shows me all the interest profile. There's only one, so it shows up that one profile I have. Okay, so now you just simply close it. Okay, So you can look at all the different reports that's available. In this final exam that we're doing, again, we're not using the software, so you know we'll be printing any reports, but you should need to know where all these reports are, because they could be asking you some theory questions or multiple choice question to locate a particular invoices or particular reports from the system. Okay, so this is pretty much it from lesson 16. So I encourage you guys to go through this chapter today if you can, if not at least by tomorrow, and then by Monday I will post another video for next chapter, lesson 17, which is not too much on that, but I'll still post a video on it, and then there will be another 4 video will come in on lessons 18 as well, showing up your invoice, recording invoices and account receivable. So once you finish this, again, don't forget to do your database dump, and once the dump is done on a USB, you can use that to start up the next chapter. But if you don't want to use your own database, you can go on a Blackboard and download the end of lesson 16 to start lesson 17 for. Okay, so good luck everybody, and stay safe, and we'll have another video for you in next couple of days. Thanks. Bye-bye.